Hey folks, today we got 3 stories of entitled people so hinged they make reality TV look boring. First up, an entitled mother who decides, hey, my neighbor's apartment? That's basically mine. Steals a spare key and lets her creepy kid waltz in like he pays rent. Then we have a Karen in full crazy mode who pulls a knife because she doesn't like someone's outfit and ends up getting a gun pointed at her head instead. And finally, OP's dad, brother, uncle, and cousin put her fiance through the worst family hazing ever. We're talking slash tires, interrogation level questioning, and oh yeah, hiding his inhaler because nothing says we love you like hope you can still breathe. Yeah, it's a mess. Smash that like button, hit subscribe, and let's dive on in, folks. All right, let's start with a story that proves some people have absolutely no concept of boundaries. OP lives in a quiet apartment building. At least it was quiet before a certain entitled mother moved in. That's when things went completely off the rails. Now, OP tries to be a decent neighbor, which includes hosting a weekly adults-only game night. When the entitled mother and her kid move in, OP, being way too nice, decides to invite her. But the adults-only part? Yeah, she completely ignores that. So game night starts at 7, but the entitled mother casually strolls in an hour late with her kid in tow. OP immediately says, hey, no kids allowed. But EM just waves it all like, oh, it's okay. He's got my permission. See, that's not how it works. So OP asks her to leave and come back in 10 minutes so they can hide all the alcohol. But instead, you know what she does? She takes 30 minutes and then returns like nothing happened. Oh, and her kid? He immediately starts eating all of OP's food. Now, OP doesn't like to confront at all, so they just let it slide. And the night goes on, and they leave. But that's just the beginning of the mess. So fast forward, COVID hits, OP's girlfriend moves in since her parents are splitting up. Everything is fine until OP gets a call from his girlfriend when he's out getting groceries. She's on the call and she says, I don't feel safe. She's sobbing. OP immediately rushes home. So what happened? Well, the girlfriend was taking a shower when she certainly started hearing some moaning. Yeah, moaning. So she assumed maybe, OP came home a little early and they wanted to get a little jiggy with it. But when she pulled back the curtain, guess who she found? That's right, it's that same kid eating the snacks, except he's looking at a different snack at this point. OP's girlfriend screams, she slapped this kid and he kicks him out. At this point, OP has no idea how the kid even got inside. So when OP gets home, the entitled mother is already banging on their door, screaming at the girlfriend for assaulting her little angel. OP has to take a deep breath at this point to stay calm. So he tells EM, listen, her son's actions completely inappropriate. And I think I forgot to mention, but the entitled mother's kid, he's about in his teens, so like 15, 16, so he's not stupid. But before OP can even finish, this entitled mother loses it. She goes off yelling, she's screaming like, my son will never do that. She shrieks, and then OP is like super confused at this time, and he asks her, how did he get in? But in her anger, she just accidentally lets it slip. And you know what she says? Oh yeah, she just stole OP's spare key months ago during that game night. Yeah, that's it. At this point, the girlfriend who's had enough, she's announcing that she's calling the cops for A, theft, breaking an entry, and invasion of privacy. Girl, at this point, I'd be calling for a little bit more than that, but whatever. The entitled mother at this point panics and she doubles down. You know what she says? She starts claiming that a rental agreement gave her access to all apartment amenities and that somehow now this included OP's entire home. Yeah, reminder, guys, OP actually owns the apartment. So now at this point, OP's girlfriend has already started calling the police and the entitled mother starts threatening about how she's going to call the police. By the time all this bickering is happening, the cops actually show up and guess what? They arrest her. So what happened after that? Well, OP isn't too sure, but what they did do is that they changed the locks and only made 2 new keys, one for OP, one for girlfriend, and they installed a video doorbell. But you know what? Game night invitations? Yeah, those are officially canceled. All right, folks, so what would you do if your neighbor stole your key and let their kid into their house for a little other snacking? Let me know in the comments. And if you think OP handled this like a champ, let me know as well. All right, next up, we got a story that proves some people really don't know when to let things go. And in this case, it nearly gets them in serious trouble. So OP's friend and his girlfriend are out running errands, just shopping for groceries, clothes, and some gifts for her niece. So they're minding their own business and suddenly they hear a screech from across the door. You filthy harlot! They hear this in like an echoey distance. Yeah, this was a real thing that this lady yelled in public. OP's friend and his girlfriend turn around and they spot her. Guess who it is? A middle-aged woman, full Karen mode activated and dragging along this poor, miserable looking kid. Now, this lady is wearing like a gaudy dress, too much makeup, and the poor kid is wearing like tattered clothes and she's livid. So OP's friend asks her, excuse me, what did you just say? agree. But Karen doubles down, going full religious outrage mode. She starts yelling about how Opie's girlfriend is tainting her child's mind and dressing like a harlot. Yeah, she still used that word again. At this point, Opie's friend is like trying to, just calm things down. But OP, he's not having it. He basically tells her, listen, lady, what my girlfriend wears is none of your business. But instead of taking a hint, Karen cranks up the entitlement to maximum levels. I'm your elder and a God-fearing woman. You have to listen to me. Now, Opie's girlfriend tries to de-escalate everything over here. She says, look, we might have listened if you weren't screaming like a banshee on crack. And that, my friends, was the trigger. At this point, Karen loses it completely. She starts ranting on about how girlfriend is a bad influence, screaming how they'll be both sent to hell one way or another. And at this point, Opie's friend is on edge. So they start walking away before things escalate. But Karen wasn't done, guys. Remember how we said she's in full Karen mode? So after checking out, paying for what they wanted to, Opie's girlfriend and the friend, they're walking to their car. As they're trying to move on their day, they hear it again. The Karen's voice, that is. Sweetie, get in the car. Mommy has some problems to deal with. They roll their eyes, thinking that's it. That's the end of it. They keep walking towards their car, and that's when they hear the sound of a knife flicking open. Slowly, that Karen starts approaching, knife in hand, wild-eyed. I'll cut those clothes off you myself, you filthy sinners. Yeah, she actually said that while coming at them with a knife. Now at this point, Opie's friend is immediately telling the girlfriend to call the cops and yelling at the Karen to stop. He keeps his distance, hoping she'll snap out of it, but Karen is still coming, knife in hand, full rage. And at this point, Opie's friend has no choice. Now, guys, he's a legal concealed carrier in a stand your ground state. So what that means is that he can pull out his firearm if he thinks he's being threatened. And that's what he does. He pulls out his firearm and he keeps it pointed down, and he's pleading with the Karen to walk away at this point. He says, ma'am, please don't make me do this. Your kid needs you. Just walk away. At this point, the tension is crazy. And what happens? Finally, that gets through her. And at that point, she stops, stares at him for a second, and says, I'll have you arrested for pulling a gun on a law-abiding student and doing God's work. And she hobbles away. At this point, the police sirens are approaching, and police show up within minutes. At this point, Opie's friend follows proper procedures, which is setting his gun on the trunk, hands up, zero issues. But because there's a weapon involved, the officers did have to detain him while they sorted things out. Now, let's be clear, guys. Detain does not mean arrest. The cops just needed to get the full story. And so him, his friend, and his girlfriend just gave their statements, pointed out to the security cameras, and let the cops handle the rest. Obviously, his gun does get confiscated, which is standard procedure in these cases. And he'll probably won't get it back until the case is fully processed. But honestly speaking, I think he'd rather lose his firearm for a while than have to actually pull a trigger on something very stupidless. So before they leave, the officer even compliments him for his exceptional trigger discipline. And that, folks, is why you stay calm, know the law, and don't engage with Karens. So what would you do if a Karen came at you waving at a knife, trying to smite you like she's some God-sent angel? Drop your thoughts in the comments, folks. And if you think Opie's friend handled this like a champ, let me know as well. All right, this next story is about family traditions that are less bonding and more straight up abusive. And spoiler alert, this one ends with a wedding guest list getting a major update. All right, so Opie grew up in a family where men love to prank and test each other. So y'all already know where this is going. So as soon as she got engaged, her cousin, her brother, dad, and uncle decided her fiance, Tim, needed to prove himself. But their tests weren't exactly funny. They made him play 4 back-to-back chess matches, which he had no complaints about. But then during that entire time, they secretly slashed his tires just to see if he'd fix them himself like a real man, or he'd ask for help like a lazy guy. Now, then came the mental tests. What they did was basically bombarded him with hypothetical scenarios, basically asking him his stance on, I don't know, abortion, Jesus, gender equality, and even what joke he'd tell his future mother-in-law. But no matter what he said, they still called him too slow and too soft even though the guy has asthma. Now, Opie demanded to stop, telling them, hey guys, this is not funny. And maybe for the sake of her, they'd back off, but nope. Her dad brushed it off, saying, this is how real men challenge one another. And then things got serious. The family took Tim on a 3-day trip. Tim figured out it might be some sort of outdoor bonding time, but on the first night, they hit his inhaler on purpose. Now, remember when I said Tim has asthma? Yeah, that was no joke. Therefore, when they realized they took it, he didn't wait around. He left immediately, walked for 7 hours to get back home. So when Tim told Opie what happened, she was beyond furious. She waited until her dad, cousin, brother came home, but instead of apologizing for what they did, they had the nerve to ask if little Timmy ran home to tattle. Yeah, at that moment, Opie snapped. She uninvited all 4 of them from the wedding, but instead of taking the L, they instead freaked out. Her brother said it was just a prank and they were going to give the inhaler back. And her dad, of all people, he offered to apologize, but then he followed up with, Tim will still still be a soft college kid in our eyes. Ugh. Anyways, Opie was done. She called them all awful and she left. Now, Opie's cousin later down the road is now begging to talk, right? Her uncle is staying quiet. Her dad is livid and even got Opie's mom involved to pressure her into reinviting them all, but Opie refused. Good on her. Her mom says she's exaggerating and, she should let bygones be bygones. But yeah, we know how this works. And I'm glad to say that Opie isn't budging at all. So guys, this kind of sounds silly to ask, but do you really think she's the bad guy for standing up for her fiance? Or did she make the right call by cutting off the family tradition of toxic masculinity? What do y'all think? Personally, I don't think she did enough. I think she should have literally just cut them out. Like that's dangerous, and at no point would you ever want to risk somebody's health just to show how masculine something is. Anyways, guys, that's all for today. And as I always say, and a Reddit story, guys, is a Reddit story, and I'll catch you in the next one. And speaking of next stories, you don't want to miss this. A Karen completely loses it and smashes the store's glass door because it was closed, and Opie didn't even work there. Yep, it's as exactly insane as it sounds. You guys should check it out next. You'll see it in the description below. Peace.